Hey guys, Sarah Fisher here. I'm super excited to have you guys tune in and watch this podcast, listen to it. Welcome. I have a very special guest with me today. This is Ezra Smucker with Equitable Builds. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yep, Equitable Builds. Ezra with Equitable Builds.
Ezra Equitable Builds. Anyways, and then you also do a lot of real estate. And so I'm really excited for you guys to listen to what he has to share today. We're just going to dive in and I'm going to ask you a few questions, but feel free to share whatever you want to share. Just a quick backstory. I just want to really share really quick. So we met years ago partying. And thank the Lord, we're both here today.
Amen.
But anyways, your life is a testimony of the goodness of God, and I'm excited to just have you share about real estate, about where you're headed and what you're doing. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah. So I started real estate when I was 19 years old, bought my first property, and that's kind of when I got started. And so I buying houses and fix and flip, rental properties, and then I started my own construction company, Equitable Builds, and then I have Equitable Rentals, who's our holding company. And so that's kind of a little backstory about me. I grew up Amish, and so I transitioned from that, went to YWAM, and then came back, and started buying houses and started a business. So started buying houses with no money down.
Nice.
And anybody can do that really. You just need the right connections, and so.
So one of the things you told me was you went on missions, and then you felt like God called you back to start a business. Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about that and walk me through like your first property buying experience? That really inspired me, by the way.
Perfect. So I went to YWAM in 2018, got in the fall of 2018, got back in 2019, and so when I got back, I was debating on whether to go to Circuit Riders or possibly go back to YWAM, but I just didn't have that peace or feel like that was the thing to do, because a lot of people were doing that, and that was like the thing.
That was the thing.
And so I was like, well, I'm just going to go back into construction and work, and I didn't really know what it's going to look like. So I was working for a real estate investor, Ben Yoesh, and I worked for him for a while, and I was like, hey, I want to buy houses. I want to be, I want to be like you, And so he helped me buy my first deal. I bought my first deal in 2019 in I think December of 2019. And then, nice. I bought my first deal with Benio. I had no idea what I was doing. I was scared. I thought it was I was like, it better be good, because I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea if it's going to be good. I didn't know how to run the numbers on it. I just went for it.
Wow.
Had no idea. And I bought it with $1,000 down. And at the time, I probably had maybe $2,000 in my account.
Come on. I love that.
So it was I was living pretty much by faith, and I didn't have any responsibilities. I was by myself. I didn't have a family to take care of. So it's it's not a big deal if you're by yourself. I can take the risk. If I lose everything, I have to move back in with my parents. No big deal. I can do that. But that wasn't the case. So I bought my first house, and it happened. We put an offer in. They were asking $120, and we put an offer in for $90. I think $90 or $92, and then they counter offer at $97. Nice. So we got it. It was a 2-unit duplex in Harrisburg, and so we closed on it at $97 on New Year's, or I think December 31st or New Year's Day or something like that.
Nice.
So it was perfect timing for 2020, right before COVID.
That's awesome.
But we got I bought that for $97 plus closing costs, and then all in I was $120K, because I did a $20,000 rehab budget, and all that money came from a hard money lender. He gave me 100% he financed 100% of the purchase price, closing cost, and the rehab budget that I needed for the project. Wow. And then after that, I did some work to it, did some repairs to the second unit upstairs, because it was vacant. The downstairs unit was occupied. with a tenant.
So when you bought it, it was occupied.
Yeah. So there was an old man that lived there for about 25 years.
Oh wow.
And I mean, to this, he passed away, and I found him dead in the apartment.
Wow.
Because like he was older gentleman, and he lived there for 25 years.
Wow.
And so that's kind of what happened. Like I actually lived there for about a year. So I rented it out for a year. The tenant moved out, and then I lived there, and a house hacked for 1 year.
Okay.
So that was so I rented it out in 2020 for $1,275, and then the downstairs was rented out for $700. Okay. And then in 2021, I moved in, and then I rented one room for $525 or something. Okay. And then I lived there for a year, and then I decided I want to move somewhere else. So I rented that. I put it on Zillow for $1,500, and now it's been rented out for $1,500 ever since. And then the downstairs, so the old man passed away, and so I had to. Well, it sat vacant for about 3 months because he didn't have family in the area. I don't think he had family. I think he had like friends that might have knew him, but he didn't like communicate with people, and he didn't have family in the neighborhood like around. So like things had like all his stuff just stayed there for like 3 months, and then I sent a letter to his, I don't know, somebody that he recommended me to send a letter to once he passes away. He's like, hey, if I pass away, send a letter to this person.
So he was like prepared.
Yeah, so he actually told me like maybe 5 months. He sent a rent check in, and he like said in a letter, he's like, I'm gonna die soon. Wow. That's what he said. And I was like, oh wow, okay. And then he told me, he's like, if you stop, if you see like my Meals on Wheels bag still sitting outside after a couple of days, that probably is a sign. And so I just every day coming home, I lived there at the time, so it wasn't a big deal. So
gotcha.
Every time I coming home, I would be like, okay, no bag there, good to go. And then gosh. So, but long story short, after we moved out, it was like I wanted to update his apartment. Yeah. Because I was gonna I could rent it out for more then, but he couldn't afford more. Yeah. So I just figured I'd let him there, and so like he passed away, I was able to remove all his stuff. We threw most of it away. We could have gave some of it away, but no one else wanted it. We had to take care of it. So we took care of that, and like 3 months later, we took care of all that, and then we renovated it, and we put about $20,000 into it, the renovations, and then we furnished it, fully furnished, 1-bedroom apartment. Oh wow! And it's now a midterm rental, and it rents out for $2,000 a month. That's awesome. So, like my mortgage on it is, my current mortgage is, I think $160,000. That's what my mortgage is, and I believe my payments are like $850 a month. Wow. And so that's not including taxes or insurance. So all in all, I'm spending about $1,200 a month, out of pocket cost for that property. Wow. And it's completely rehabbed. 0 of my own money involved in this deal. I've did 2 cash out refis. Wow. In the past like 3 years, and the first time I was able to pull out, I believe like 25 or 30. Or no, the second time 25 or 30, and the first time I pulled out 5,000. That was my first deal. So, I look back and I'm like, wow, my first deal is still my best deal, and it just gets better over time because you're paying it down, Wow. And so you say your first deal is still your best deal. Yeah. So it's I love that. So cash flow is a little over $2,000 a month. Nice. So because I have a midterm rental. Yes. On the first floor, which is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. And it's rented out like 100% on travelnurse.com. Oh, nice. For $2,000 a month, and I'm gonna increase that. And after the current tenant moves out, I'm gonna increase it to 25. Nice. So that way, I can make even more cash flow from the property, and if I have 10 of those, if you think about it, that's $20,000. Yeah. There you go. So. Wow,
you make it sound really, really easy. And I just, so you bought your first property, and then I want to hear like the journey of that from there to where you are now.
Yeah. So
because how many do you own now?
I have 17 doors. Okay. So, but we're, might sell a few. Yeah. But so from there, that was my first deal I did in 2020, basically, I'd say. And then I flipped 2 more in 2020. and that's
so
all.
you flip as well.
So in 2020, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do because I didn't really I bought a house and I didn't really know okay, how, if I'm going to buy more or how this is all going to work, because I had no idea. I just was I want to buy houses. I want to listen to Bigger Pockets. Awesome. Bigger Pockets got me going. Awesome. Without Bigger Pockets, I wouldn't be I wouldn't have got started probably. Wow. So from in 2020, I flipped 2 houses. The first house I actually ended up living in because I was kind of just floating around. I was living in a house that I was renovating, and then I I rented that one out. So I moved in with a friend, and then I was well, I'm gonna finish up this house, and I'm gonna move in here and house hack. So the first house that I flipped I bought it in February, right after so I finished up the project, my 2-unit, and I bought the next one in February of 2020, right before COVID. COVID happened, I think in March or something. Okay. And it was not a big deal. I was working on my project all throughout COVID. And another thing is I had the code enforcements weren't coming out because of COVID. So and I had a permit open, and so I had to follow so I had to wait on them. Yeah. Until they thought it was safe to come out, and so that held me up, and so I was getting frustrated at times. It took me longer than normal, but after it was done, I was well, I refinanced it, did a cash out refi. I forget how much money I got. I think I got $20,000 or something. Nice. And so I was I'm gonna live here because it was new, nice, and I was I'm gonna live here. So I house hacked. I rented a room out for $575, and my mortgage was a little over $800 as well on that one, and then. So I stayed there. That was my first flip, and then I went and did another flip in York. I only made $5,000 on that one. It's not a good deal, but you live and learn. And it's my third deal, so it's fine. $5,000 is better than nothing at that point. But then I sold that one, and I was staying in the same one that I flipped first, and then I kind of did more construction for clients, and we're doing a lot of construction for clients, and I kind of left that go for a while because I was I'm not sure.
Is that when you started your business?
No, I started both businesses in 2020. So
oh wow, so you were
so
boom.
Yeah. So,
going hard.
Yeah. So I wasn't really exactly sure what how I was gonna keep I was well, I'm gonna try to flip houses. I'm gonna try to hold some, and I wasn't quite sure, and so. But 2020, I did 2 houses, and I was doing all mostly work for clients. Wow. After that, and then in 2021, I was well, I had one of my housemates moved out, and I was okay, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Market was hot. 2021 market was crazy, and it was in June, so it was the peak. And I was you know what? I'm just no one's living here. It's just me. I can move in with my parents again if I need to, or I can move in with whoever. We put it on the market for more than I thought, more than I want. I was I'm willing to sell it for this price. Nice. I'm not willing to sell it for, the average market is $175, but I'm willing to sell it for $225. Mm-hmm. So we put it in the market for $225. A couple of days later, we had an offer at $212, and we knew it wasn't going to appraise for that much because there's nothing in the neighborhood that appraises. So I was we have to have a appraisal contingency. $10,000 over appraisal, contingency. So that's what happened. They did $10,000 over appraisal. I think it appraised for anyway, they ended up paying $202. And
that's what you got for it?
That's what, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was, after that, I made $90,000 on that one. Nice. And that was my first flip I did, but I lived in it for a year. And if I wouldn't have lived in it for a year, I wouldn't have made $90,000
because the market got really hot.
Really hot. So
wow.
Maybe it was the Lord telling me just to live there in a nice new house that was renovated freshly, and I could enjoy it for a year. Yes. And then I didn't really want to live there because I needed that cash. Because in the meantime I wasn't making much money. Yes, I was working for clients, but you can only make so much.
You were hustling.
So and then everyone's well, you made $90,000. What are you gonna do with it? Well, I ended up expanding the business. Taking I bought a new vehicle for the business, a new van, Sprinter van, and different things like that. There, I paid off some old credit card debt that accumulated from different projects we did. Mm-hmm. And when you're starting out and learning, you're not gonna win every time. So on certain projects when we were working for clients, yes, there was moments when I didn't budget for that in the bid. and I was going to keep my word on the price that we were going to do. So like you don't, if you remodel, you find there's a lot of unforeseen things.
Yes.
So a lot of times you either go over budget, or like if you're working on your own projects, but you're working for clients, you can that's part of the contingency that you provide them. But yeah, there's like moments where like I went over budget on certain things, and so like I had credit card debt, and I bought a new van, bought a bunch of tools, and so like that's kind of where that money went to. It's like we reinvested it into the business. And then so 2021, in that year I didn't do much real estate other than sell. And
so you didn't buy it that year?
I think I bought one more that year.
Okay.
I bought one.
2020 was when you bought, and then 2021 is when you kind of...
Yes, 2020 is when I sold one, and then I made a good amount of money, and then I bought one more. That was an off-market deal for $90,000, and then I put, I think, 40 into it, and it appraised for like 175. Wow. So I was able to get the $20,000 out. Now that's where I moved to. So nice. I was like just kind of floating around. I was actually floating around for about 6 months, just like kind of like I was living there and just kind of like it's just like
wow.
So, but yeah, and then 2022 I kept buying houses, and 2023 kept buying houses. So
nice. And now, I mean, thank you for sharing all that. Yeah. But I have so many questions and so many. My mind's just exploding right now. It really is. But now you're well known around Harrisburg as well.
I mean, I guess you could say that.
Like what I love, and I often see this on your Facebook posts, on your social media, is like your goal with buying houses is to restore Harrisburg. Mm-hmm. And what inspired that?
So, like,
which I love. I think it's really cool because it's like you're not only building cash flow for yourself, but you're actually making the city of Harrisburg beautiful.
Yeah. So everybody's like, well, why are you in Harrisburg, right? And everyone's like, why not in Lancaster City? Why Lancaster City is better? All these things. And I'm like, well, no, I'm in Harrisburg because it's the worst. I want to make it better than Lancaster City. That's my goal. That. So like,
I love that so much.
That's why I like went to Harrisburg. It's like everyone's going for the new thing, the better thing. Mm-hmm. And so like I'm like, no, I want to see Harrisburg prosper. I want to, see every house renovated. And so our mission is to renovate and restore our city. So renovate and restore cities, but I throw in there our cities because right now it's it's going to take a while to change Harrisburg, but one block at a time, and you keep moving on.
Wow. But I also feel like you've gained some momentum from that, like from that mission statement, and you're recognized in Harrisburg now. Like I saw that you were part of the new thing in Harrisburg. That park.
So we built a public park for the city of Harrisburg. We did that.
Yeah.
So we bid on that project and we got that. So we do like bigger construction projects as well. We do work for other clients. Equitable Builds does work for other clients. We do a lot of our own projects, and we're selective with the clients we work for. Mm-hmm. But we did that government project for the city, and it was a great PR, public relations for us.
Absolutely.
It was a hard project. It was the biggest project I ever did to date, and so I managed it. But we got it done, and it was like it now like people know Equitable Builds because of that project, and not just that. We do a lot of different projects throughout the city, and it's funny when you're walking down the street and in the city of Harrisburg, where you weren't even born in, but people are walking down the street and say hi, Ezra, and shake your hand. You know
That's
what I mean?
awesome.
It's like I don't. I'm like,
that's so cool.
It's like, oh, okay. And we're like at a restaurant, and they're like, are you Ezra Smucker? And I'm like, yes, I am. And they're like, it's just like, oh, wow. So like, I don't even come from Harrisburg.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, we see your signs everywhere. We see, on Facebook or Instagram, we see your signs on Penn Street, on Green Street, on different streets, and they're like, you're like up and coming, is basically what they say. It's like, okay.
Which you totally are. And I was like, I'm going to have you on here before you get famous. This is kind of cool too for my audience. He's my first ever guest on my first ever episode, podcast, YouTube video, whatever. But which is such an honor. Yeah. Like it's such an honor to have you.
I'm honored to be here and share my story and inspire others to go out and crush it, because it's possible. You know, it's not easy, you know, but you got to put in the work. You got to hustle. You got to, like, you know, work those long hours. You got to, you know, put all spending aside and just buy the bare minimum at times. And, you know, it's like whatever it takes to make your company succeed in life. So, because, like, if that's important, you know, you don't need to make much money, but if you can make, you know, your company a lot of money, and then, you know, provide opportunities for other people, solutions for other people. So, like,
I love that. I love that so much. I think one of my questions is, like, what would you say to someone who is starting out, who has no idea? Let's say, I mean, they have nothing. They're starting from nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much did it. Like, I started.
What would your encouragement be?
I mean, you really have to just hustle and, like, you know, diligently grind at just going for it. You got to, like, continue to just press forward, and you got to be willing to get dirty, willing to sweat, and basically build sweat equity. If you want to be in real estate in your first couple of deals, and you want to do it without any money without any of your own money, you need to, like, put the sweat equity in. You know, go out there, paint it. You know, paint the brick, paint the interior, replace the trim, new flooring, whatever it takes to push that, you know, that house to the next level for appraisal, you know. And then make sure you have the right comps, and so that you can actually get, you know, you can make $20,000, $30,000 on your first deal, whether you flip it or whether you do a burr strategy, you have good credit, you know. That's how I was able to do my first couple burr strategies. Had good credit and interest rates were good, so, like, but you got to make sure you know your market. I mean, there's a lot of things that you got to make sure. And I mean, for me, I did not know what I was doing. I didn't even know if the market was good. Like, sometimes I feel like I just got lucky and I just fell into the perfect time zone of, like, buying a house, perfect year, 2019. You know, market's, like, I guess average, but still a little bit low. I don't know. You know,
and then it suddenly rose, and then it's in 2020,
you know, and, like, it rose like crazy, and I was able to make $90,000 on a deal, and I'm like, that was my first ever, like, check that I held $90,000 on. Like,
come on,
you know, it kind of, like, motivated me to, like, okay, I can do it. You know, my next goal was to have $100,000, you know, check, and so, but we were able to, like, I don't know what I would say. It's like, just, you gotta work hard, and you know, it's not gonna come easy, and nothing good comes easy. So, like, you know, you gotta work hard.
But, like, would you say you're now seeing the results of the
so
work
yes,
you put into it?
Yes and no, because, like, I'm continue to build and skill. So, like, you know, I'm consistently, like, working hard, and behind the scenes no one sees it, and that's, like, awesome. You know, if you want to skill, you have to consistently, like, push forward. And if you don't want to, if you want to, like, I could have been fine just been, like, when I was, like, you know, just flipping 1 or 2 houses a year, buying one, I could have been fine and be making good money. But, like, that wasn't my goal. My goal was to, you know, help others out, provide solutions, and for clients, for employees, for everybody, right? And, you know, I wanted to provide, like, solutions for housing and renovate and restore the city. Like, that's you know, without I couldn't do that if I wouldn't have a team. But in order to have a team, you have more expenses. You're growing. You have you know, marketing. You have employee stuff that you have. You know, it's all kinds of stuff that you go through. Workman's comp, taxes, insurance, like everything, you name it. So you're continuously scaling, and then, you know, we've done. You know, to date, I have 17 properties, and every property I bought with none of my own money.
Nice.
So, like,
let's talk about that for a bit. Like, the zero money down, zero money into it.
Yeah. So, like, and I get
put money into it. I'm sure.
I put money in. Yes. So, like, we go over budget. You know, on these remodels, you're buying them. So the only way to buy a property with no money down is it has to be distressed. You can't buy a perfect house that has, you know, it's painted, it's the flooring's in, the nice doors are on, the new windows. You know, you can't buy a house with no money down buying a perfect house. You have to buy a house that's distressed. It has to be, no one else has to want it. You know, that's the ones that you can buy with no money down. You have to put your sweat equity in, and that's, you know, how I was able to do it because I had the construction knowledge. So you gotta put the sweat equity into, you know, and you can't buy a house that's fixed up and ready to go. You need to buy it and renovate it. So
I mean, just for our audience here, how did you get connected to your hard money private lenders, if I can ask?
Yeah. So I was working with Benuesh, and he suggested a few people. I reached out to him. Apparently, they did not lend to me then because apparently I didn't sound confident enough over the phone. And so I realized that I need to I need to know what I'm talking about. One,
Yes.
I need to be confident and be, believe in myself. So I went and I was as my last option, I was like, hey, does anyone have a hard money lender that they use? And one of my coworkers gave me the hard money lender's number, and I called him up. And while I was working, I had my AirPods in, and I was like, hey, this is Ezra. And I just gave him the spiel. I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I have a deal. This is what I want to buy. This is how I'm going to do it. And this is what it's going to be. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. We'll lend you the money. I'm like, oh, wow. Boom. It's 10-minute conversation. And he never met me before.
Yeah.
And it's Dave Wolf from Lancaster.
Again.
And he's funded at least 20 of my deals. And,
Come on.
he might have made $50,000 off of me, or maybe more than that. I don't exactly know. I mean, if it added up, it could be more like 70. But he's done about 20 deals with me.
Nice.
And 10% interest, or now they're charging I think 12.
Yeah.
12%, which is not that high, but it's high interest loan. It's interest only payment monthly. But so yeah, Dave Wolf funded most of my deals, and he didn't even know how old I was.
Nice.
I called him over the phone. I was 19 years old, and I guess I didn't sound like a baby because I got my point across, and he lent me money, right? So
I love that story though, of how confidence is so important.
Yeah.
And but I think with that, your identity, your self-worth comes along with that.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more even about how just real estate has grown that.
Yeah, so I kind of touch on social media a little bit. I've don't care, it doesn't matter what people think about you, or
so true.
Even if you're you stumble across your words, or I spoke in front of 200 people recently for the first time, and that was but you got to step out of your comfort zone. You got to do stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to be I think to myself, I want to be a leader. As a leader, you need to step out of your comfort zone more often than average people.
That's so
yes,
true.
we're all leaders, but if you want to be a leader, you got to step out and do certain things. So speaking in front of 200 people was no easy task for me.
Yeah.
It was stressful, but I was able to do it, and it was rewarding at the end.
Yes.
It's rewarding. And same way with social media. Yes, social media is not a big deal, but if you want to grow your brand, grow your audience, share your wins, and share your encourage or motivate other people to do what you're doing, then you have to step out there. And for me, I started these 5-minute Friday things where I speak for to do a quick 5-minute Friday, 5 minutes on a Friday for I'm trying to do it every week on a Friday, and be hey, this is what happened this week. This is it's not everything is a win, but this is what's going on. This is what's causing making me stress out, and sharing those things, because
I love that.
One, it's mainly for me. It's kind of a selfish way of going about it, but it's for me. The reason I'm doing it is I become more comfortable talking to people with big audiences, because and then also if you see rude comments, no big deal, just leave them go.
That's so
and
good.
You just move on. You don't let that affect your life. You don't that person has nothing, doesn't even know you probably, or you actually let that build your confidence. Be I am better than that, and I am. You just that's not the truth, or
That's
people.
So
or then there's people out there that are encouraging you to do more, and and they're sharing how they how you motivated them to buy their first deal. So motivating others is another one of our statements. I want to motivate other people. So motivating other people to do what I'm doing, or even if you're not doing what I'm doing, whether you buy your first deal or you buy your second deal, having the passive income and buying it right. You don't want to overpay, because once you start overpaying, that's when you're going to start losing money. But also when you go over budget, that's also when you're gonna, so.
Do you coach people?
I do not. No.
Is that something that you'll be doing in the future, you think?
Probably not. I doubt it.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a possibility where, like, you know, I would offer, you know, I give them advice, but not really. Yeah, I wouldn't really consider myself a coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just curious because I think that you would definitely be good at that. You're very motivational, and you're definitely headed like big places for sure. And I'm just excited to watch you go and to for where you're headed. Like, even can you talk about what some of your goals, like your 5-year goal, 10-year goal?
Yeah. So I don't.
If you don't mind sharing.
I don't have like. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I want. So this year, my goal was to buy 30 units, have a total of 30 units, which I'm at 17, but it's been like very challenging. There's like a lot of moving parts in with just 17, and most of them are single family. I have a 4-unit, and I have a 2-unit. I have a couple of 2 units, and most of them are single family, and there's a lot that goes on with those single families.
Yeah.
And it's harder. I think it's harder to get to 30 unless you just buy like. So if you're buying 10 unit and a 10 unit and a 10 unit, that's easy, right? But then you need more capital. But at the end of the day, it's not like, okay, you have to close on almost like, 3 houses per month almost to actually get to that 30. So like, I have a goal of 30, but I don't think I'm going to meet it because it was an aggressive goal. But, you know, even if I don't meet it, it might shift a little bit because we have an opportunity to sell, you know, 5 of our houses as a portfolio and make a decent amount of money on them, and which would be, you know, helpful to maybe expedite. Sometimes you gotta decrease to increase. So maybe I'm gonna be decreasing in properties or doors, but I might be able to use that $500,000 or $450,000 profit and use that as leverage to buy a 30 unit, and then I have 40 units, right? And I would have 40 units, so it'd be like,
I love that.
So maybe it might work in that favor, or maybe other way around. Maybe I might just, you know, stick at, you know, 10 doors, and then next year be able to buy 60. You know, because once you play with bigger numbers, you can do bigger things, and so like, and you have more leverage. The more leverage you have, the better it is. More lenders are going to want to give. More lenders are going to give you money, and then like I'm hoping to start like a fund. You know, that's a whole other thing. Like, it's like, you know, if I can start a, you know, private fund for, you know, raising capital, you know, there's a lot of like tricky rules with the SEC and like different like, you know, basically you're taking money from, you know, the Wall Street and, you know, putting it into real estate. So like. There's a lot, but there's like, that's like really tricky, and if you mess up, you mess up. Like, it's like they're gonna, you know, penalize you. So
fun. Now this is a totally different question, but what are some things you do for fun? What are some hobbies you have?
Well, I love snowboarding, so I recently got into snowboarding. So one of my friends, Lenny Byler,
I love her.
So
she's one of my good friends too.
Awesome. So like for a couple years, my friends wanted me to go snowboard. I was like, no way. I do not want to get hurt. I don't want to do stupid stuff. Like, I got responsibilities to take care of. And then one year, it was like, okay, fine. It was like 2021. Yes, 2021. No, 2020. Yeah, 2021. 2020. That's snowboarding season 2021, 2022. I went. I was like, yeah, I guess I'll go. I was like, I didn't have any gear, and I was like, I don't know what it's gonna. I probably hate it. I was like, you know, I probably hate it, but I went, and it was fantastic. Like I shredded it, and it was like natural. I think it's just because I longboard and do stuff like that there. So it came natural, and I was like, I love it. So, you know, I started snowboarding, and then I went to Jackson Hole last year, and that was absolutely amazing experience. So like, you know, that's something I do for fun. You know, get out and enjoy the cold. I hate winters, but I actually love winter now. Like,
I love
if
winter
you
too.
hate something, well, there's probably like, I didn't do anything fun in the winter. So like, but now I can't wait to snowboard like in 2023 here. So like, you know,
come on.
And I bought an all season pass, and so I can't wait to go snowboarding. Awesome. You know, so that's one thing I do is snowboard. I like to. I recently got into cycling.
Did you really? Yeah, that's awesome.
So I try to like, you know, I like to keep my stats to see how good I'm doing and how far I can go and how fast I can get there. So like I'm more of a competitive person, and so I like to do things like, I mean, like that I can keep my stats. You know, when we snowboard, I actually keep my stats there too. Like, cause like I like to see how long it takes us to get down. You know, how, you know, like which way we went, because like there's like, if you're in Jackson Hole, it's a huge resort, you know, and so like there's like, I like to keep my stats on a lot of things. So I cycle, snowboard. I like working. Like, I don't feel like I work really, because I mean I do work, but I really like what I do, and so like it's really, if you do what you like, you don't really work a day in your life. And that's it's a quote from somebody, but I don't know who.
No, that's I was trying to think of who it's by, because I know that quote as well, and I'm like, oh no, I'm biking.
So yeah, I do that, and I mean, other than that, I love playing pickleball. Recently got into pickleball.
Really? Yeah, so my gosh! I love it.
Recently, here in the spring, I got into pickleball, and I've been like pretty active in pickleball, and it seems like it's going like it keeps me busy. Like when I look forward to so you have to have. I've realized that you have to have something. Like, you can't just work. Even if you like working,
that's so true.
There's days in work that you're going to be frustrated, or you're going to be tired of X, Y, and Z. I have something else to look forward to. I love pickleball. I love snowboarding. I love cycling. So, like, I do these things, and I put them on my calendar. Like, every Tuesday we play pickleball from 7 to 11 or 8 to 11 at night. So, every Tuesday, it's on my calendar. I look forward to that.
Yes.
And then
you got to have that.
And so, like, you know, Sundays we play pickleball, but then also like I try to go every Thursday. I try to go cycling in the evening. So like, okay, I look forward to that. And then like, you know, I like to golf as well. So
you golf?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm not that good at it, but my best was like 97, which is like not good at all. But you know,
still better than me. Like I don't even golf.
I do it because it connects with business people. So
it
like
does.
Entrepreneurs, like
it does.
It creates that, you know, hey, like, I want to get to know you. You want to go out golfing, you know? So like we go out golfing, or like people are like, hey, I want to go golfing with you. And so, you know, that's another thing I like to do. I don't play golf that often, but like I recently, you know, I try to go out every Monday night from 4 to 9, we go golfing. So with a friend. So, you know, kind of having consistent things that you do, like, you know, I look forward to. Like, I get home from work, I'm like, oh, yes, like, I gotta go golfing, or, oh, yes, I'm going to go play pickleball, or, you know, all right, I'm just going to, like, Wednesday nights I might go to church or just rest. Yeah. So, like, because Wednesday nights, the church there's always church from 7 to 9, and so, like, that's an option, but I just rest or do that. And then Thursday nights, or, you know, either cycle or rest. And then like this week I rested because I was like, I worked till like 6:30. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm not really feel like going out there. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. It's funny you talk about golf, because I was going to get into golf this year. And then I didn't because the thing was the clientele. Like I was gonna. It's a great sport to connect with people.
Networking.
But, to network, it really is, but. It would mess up my softball swing, and so I decided not to. I wanted to play softball this year, so But no, it's funny you brought up golf. I that is something that in the future that I do want to pick up, but kind of this, And I always told my family that I would, and would
because your brothers are big.
They're big into golf, and
your dad.
Everybody in my family is like really big into golf. Like my sister is getting started into it, and my thing was like, I'm not gonna do it. So it's kind of a pride thing too, but
because everyone else in your family, like, I want to be the only one that doesn't golf on purpose, right?
Because I used to make fun of them. I was like, it's an old man sport. Like, you're just going out and hitting balls. That's so easy. Yeah. And then, you know, I go out and do it, and it's like, it's this totally mind game, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. Any final words that you want to share?
Not other than, like, I mean, if you want to get started in real estate, you just go for it. Like, I didn't. I wanted to, but I had no idea how to go about it. Get connected with a realtor that has investment properties, that knows the market, and, you know, is willing to walk you through, you know, what it looks like to have an investment property. And what I'd say is, don't, you know, get caught up with the looks of a property, you know, with the facade of it. Just buy something that no one else really wants, and maybe do some sweat equity, add some landscaping, painting, and rent it out, you know. That's what I would recommend, is like, if you want to get started, that's where I would start. So Yeah.
I love that. I like the numbers make sense.
Yeah.
Do it. Take action. Where can we find you and how can we follow your journey?
You can check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Ezra Smucker on Facebook and Ezra Smucker on Instagram, or I think that's all the platforms I have.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Ezra, again.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for having me.
What an honor. What an incredible honor. I'm super excited for where you're going. And tune in next time for another special guest.